Inez. So hello, I'm Davy Stevenson. I'm a leadership coach, fractional VP of engineering, and an advisor to startups. Today, I'm going to be doing a lightning talk on establishing intentional communication. How can we improve how we communicate, especially during meetings? Let's create more productive and more enjoyable meetings together. So I'll be talking about a couple different topics on this. First, I'm going to talk about the failure modes that meetings commonly get into. Then I'll talk a little bit about facilitation skills and about defining purpose and outcome of your meetings. And finally, our favorite topic, does it even need to be a meeting at all? So by identifying failure modes within our existing meetings, it can help us know where to start for troubleshooting and repair. So some common failure modes include uneven participation. There's one or two people that are kind of talking, dominating the conversation, and everyone else is silent. Next, the topic might be too broad. You're talking about too many things, and maybe no decisions are being made, or not much valuable information is actually being shared. There's unprepared meeting members, and this isn't always the fault of the people within the meeting. Do people know why the meeting is happening? Do people know what valuable input or information that they are bringing to the meeting? Next, we have wasted time. And this often happens when there's an uncertain or undefined purpose for the meeting. Too much time is being spent talking about inconsequential things. And finally, there can be a lack of decision. If this is a meeting to make a decision, was that decision made? And do people walk away from the meeting with a shared understanding of what was discussed and decided? The lack of active facilitation can be a key thing preventing meetings from being productive. So I'm going to talk about two different facilitation types. The first is direct facilitation. You own the meeting or have strong authority within that meeting. The pro is that this can make it easier to facilitate. The con is that oftentimes you might be getting less feedback or less pushback on your facilitation style. The next is indirect facilitation. In this, you're just a participant in the meeting, right? So you don't have direct authority. The pro is that if you become skilled at this, you can become a really valuable addition to meetings. That might also be a con. And the con is that this is a very difficult skill to acquire. So for direct facilitation, take advantage of meeting introductions. Specify the purpose of the meeting. Mention time limits if there are any around how much time people have to share. Announce that you will be timekeeping and you use that power for good. Utilize agendas. Have standard meeting outlines. Allow people to add items to the agenda. And then, of course, review it beforehand so you know what topics people are wanting to discuss. Create a culture of sharing content before a meeting and expecting others to be prepared. Hold people accountable for that preparation. And be that air traffic control, keeping topics on track, shuffling people who are talking too much, allowing space for people who aren't talking, who you kind of might feel have something to share. And then you can use one-on-ones to address those sort of rambling or non-participating members and figure out what might be happening to kind of cause this. For indirect facilitation, the most useful topic I will give you is to use curiosity, not critique, within your meetings to guide the outcome that you're looking for. You can use your voice to advocate for others, create space to lift up people's voices who are having trouble contributing for themselves. Ask for clarification if you're feeling like people might not be on the same track together. And you can offer to help the facilitator. You can be the one offering to help take notes. You can offer to be the timekeeper for them. If you're seeing them juggling multiple tasks, offer to handle one. And this can be something you can offer within the meeting or talk to the facilitator afterwards and ask if there's something that you can take off their plate for them. And finally, just be a good example. Show what it means to be a well-prepared and contributing member of a meeting. So meetings without specific purposes and outcomes are destined to fail to meet their goal. There can be many different purposes that meetings have. They can be around sourcing information, and I define this as like idea generation and creativity. They can be around sharing information, and this is much more on updating status and providing facts. They can be around making a decision. They can be focused on organizational and planning, or they can have a humane or health-related aspect. A meeting should ideally focus on one of these purposes and at most two. Otherwise, they're going to get off track, and you're going to have that too broad of a topic problem. So what about Agile? Let's kind of go through it. A planning meeting is obviously primarily an organizational and planning meeting, but it can have a lot of aspects around sourcing information if that information isn't available already. And lack of sourced information can be a key derailer of planning meetings. And then finally, there can be some aspects of making a decision within that meeting. Backlog grooming is also oftentimes around making a decision, mostly on a smaller scale, and also can require some aspect of sourcing information. A stand-up is primarily a place for sharing information, but it can also be a really great humane health resource for a team. And finally, retros, I think, are a great place for humane and health related activities. You may disagree, and there may be teams that use this in many other ways, but in my opinion, this is an optimal place to kind of ensure team health. If you don't provide a way for teams to have an outlet for their humane and health related things, it will crop up in other places. So what have we seen here? Planning is doing a lot, right? Sourcing information is never really a primary goal in this Agile cycle. And sharing information is only within the team. I'm going to give 2 ideas for how to thoughtfully address these concerns. So first is utilizing brainstorming or creativity meetings. This is the goal of basically creating a place for creativity. You can be brainstorming for a project launch, research during development. You can be generating ideas to help solve a persistent issue that your team or your users are experiencing, or a place for general creativity for improving the product. Depending on your needs, there could be many ways to adjust and focus this meeting. It could be design focused. It could be based on user research. You could focus on security or operational needs. And who's involved? Everyone. This is a place for the whole team to contribute ideas, and you can even invite people from nearby adjacent teams such as QA, security, DevOps, the data team, the platform team, whoever might have some interesting and unique perspectives on your problem that you would like to incorporate in. And it's really good to be sure to say that this is not, an organizational planning meeting, and this is not a meeting for making decisions, right? This is literally a place to be creative. So sharing information outward, there's many different ways you can do this. And here's a couple ideas. You could be utilizing all hands, either a company-wide or organization-wide all hands to share information. If your company has a sort of regular sync with leadership peers across an organization, you could be bringing information in that way. And if your company doesn't have that, maybe propose that they create one. Or you could be having one-on-ones with your leadership peers to share information. You could be utilizing conference talks to share information beyond the bounds of the company itself. And you could be using demos, either on their own or within any of these other ideas to better show rather than tell what your team has been doing. Finally, does it need to be a meeting? So there's a lot of things here. A lot of it is around reducing the fear of missing out, right? That's why people want to be involved in all these things. So one thing is to be clear that maybe you're not a design by committee team, right? Who is the decision maker and on these sorts of decisions? Those people should be listening to input, but maybe not all of it needs to be integrated into the final decision. Creating a culture of sharing information and allowing for async discussions can also really help reduce that feeling of missing out. Are your async options working? If not, address that. And that could be, a whole conference talk all on its own. Create incentives for documentation from planning all the way through decision phases and make that a part of your culture. And as a leader, you can share and delegate responsibility and ownership on subtasks to the members of your team. Again, this can be a really great way to kind of reduce that fear of missing out and share the load of responsibility of making decisions. And there we have it. Thank you very much. I'll be loving to talk to people more about it at the office hours later.